Hello everybody, my name is Adrian Rios. I'm a graduate student at Pepperdine University. I'm here today to talk to you about my professional and personal development through perseverance via TED Talk. Where my story starts is, like many of our stories start, is with my parents. My parents migrated here from Mexico in the early 1970s, and with the American dream in hand, right? They wanted a better life for themselves, and they wanted a better life for their children. I'm actually one of 5 children. I'm the 4th youngest child in the family. And my parents' primary goal while they were raising us was really to raise good citizens and hardworking people. My parents did have a minimal educational background. My mom graduated from the 2nd grade. My dad graduated from the 1st grade. So they really didn't have any professional licensing or any professional work to hang their hat on. So they had to do manual labor jobs. So for us and for our family, our primary source of income was to have a small business at the local flea market, or what they call the swap meet. So you'll see that pictured here on the screen. The swap meet, I worked there pretty much my whole childhood. And what we would do is we would sell clothing. So we'd sell kids' clothes, women's clothes, men's clothes to people out at the flea market. And really my focus for myself and for my brothers and sisters was to go to school Monday through Friday. Once we got out of school, help with the family business, whether that was go help buy more clothing or more merchandising, or organize the merchandising for for the daily work. So my Monday through Friday consisted of school and helping out with the family business, and then the weekends would consist of primarily working at the family business. So I would wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, load up all the merchandise into the work van that we had, and then off to the swap meet we went. We would drive over to the swap meet, set up shop, and probably work there till about 5 or 6 in the evening. By the time you really got home, you're pretty tired from a long days of work. Really, it was more about eating, having dinner, getting ready for the next day of work, and getting ready to wake up again at 4 or 5 in the morning the next day. So really, the way that my life consisted of was really, there was very little focus on schoolwork, and there was little or extracurricular activities or even friends. Really, my parents were raising us again to have a great work ethic, so we're able to find a labor-intensive job in the future once we grew up. So with that focus, really throughout school, like when I was in elementary school, I really struggled in school. They actually asked me to repeat the 5th grade, which my parents were against, fortunately enough for me, and I didn't repeat the 5th grade. But I could remember being in class and sitting there with my palms sweaty, nervous as all heck, hoping that the teacher would not call on me, because my reading skills were subpar at the time. So I really had a lot of anxiety around school because I really wasn't good at it. I wasn't dedicating the time to it. In middle school, I might have gotten a little bit better during middle school, but nevertheless, I still struggled and I still didn't do all that well. Now entering high school, by this time, I'd worked years and years at the flea market or the swap meet, and I'd grown tired really of the 105-degree days of work, 110-degree days at work, or the days where there was really windy and you really couldn't even keep your head up because it was so windy, or it was too cold, or it was too hot, and the long days. I was really tired. I was growing tired of doing all that manual labor work. So when I got into high school, at some point I remember realizing, my mentality has to change. I have to focus on myself and focus on education. How am I going to better myself through education? I was fortunate enough to come across a teacher named Mr. Evans, that he dedicated a lot of time to me. I would go in during my lunch hour. He did his lunch, and he'd go over math with me, and he would show me everything that I was struggling with and how to personally get over it and address it and do well in it. With that, my confidence within the educational system started getting better and better, and I started doing better in other classes. I started leveraging other teachers. So for me, I was very fortunate, very lucky to have a teacher like Mr. Evans and the teachers at Fontana High School where I went that gave me the little extra time to dedicate towards my development. That little extra time actually led me to have an opportunity to be the first person in my family to apply to college. So at the time when I was applying to college, I wasn't sure if I was going to be accepted, if I was going to be denied, but I went through the process anyways. At the time, I wanted to go to Pepperdine University, but unfortunately, my grades weren't good enough at the time, mainly because I had gotten a late start on this whole, building confidence in high school and through education. So I had to kind of put that dream on hold for a little bit. But what I did get, and where I was fortunate enough, was to get accepted to Cal State LA through a program called the Educational Opportunity Program. And that program itself is actually designed to help first-generation students attend college. So I was fortunate enough to get into college as a provisional admin. And really, when I got the acceptance letter to Cal State LA, I remember being overjoyed. And I remember telling myself, opening up the letter and showing it to my parents. I can remember sitting in the kitchen, overjoyed, but also telling myself, this is my chance. This is my chance to change things from my family perspective. Not just my mother and father being proud of me, but also showing my brothers and sisters that we could do this, that it is possible to attend college, and it is possible to get a white-collar or professional career as opposed to more of a blue-collar or labor-intensive career. So I knew that this was going to be my chance, and I needed to seize the opportunity. So with that, after 4 years at Cal State LA, I graduated, and at that point I met a new challenge or a new major decision that most people address once they graduate from college. Do I look for a job that pays well, or do I look for something that I really love to do? Coming from a family that didn't have a lot of money, the portion, valuing money is pretty important, right? You want to be able to prove to your parents that you could sustain yourself. You want to be able to prove to your parents that you're successful, and at least in my family, that money meant success, right? So at the time, I had to make a decision. Do I want to be a college counselor, or do I want to get into the insurance business? Fortunately enough for me, both of these met a lot of my professional and personal growth requirements that I had for a career. From a college counselor standpoint, I really wanted to be able to help out students, much like myself, that struggled when they were younger and in high school and middle school, and they just needed that little extra chance, a little extra opportunity to be successful. And from the insurance standpoint, I really liked it because I felt like I got to learn a lot about a lot of different items, such as investigations, recorded statements, dealing with attorneys, legal management, and medical management. So all of those things really kind of were important to me when looking at both careers. In the end, I did end up choosing insurance, mainly again because of all the positive attributes that it had, and also because of the money. I needed to, at the time I told myself I needed to be able to prove to my parents that I could, that I was going to be successful and that everything was going to work out for me. So, with that, I got started with my career. I started with a small company called 21st Century Insurance. It was a great little company at the time. They gave me an opportunity to really learn all the insurance fundamentals, how to properly take statements, how to properly negotiate, how to properly deal with attorneys, how to properly expense items out, all of that, how to properly negotiate, how to properly communicate. Lots of fundamentals that I learned there. I was very fortunate enough to work there. And then after 3 years, I had worked there. Every year that I had been there, that work ethic that my parents instilled to me, combined with the education that I had gotten, was really paying off at the time. I was an Exceeds employee there all 3 years that I was there, and that's really the highest ranking that they could give anybody within the company. So I really liked that. I could even remember one year the company or the director came to me and said, "Hey, here's a little bonus here for you for Christmas. We generally don't do bonuses. We're a small company, but you've exceeded expectations by so much that I want to give you something and show my appreciation." And for me, being a 23, 24-year-old young man, it was a big deal for me. I really felt at the time my career was flourishing. I was developing my personal brand, and I was only going to be, developing with this company, for the rest of my life, I was hoping at that time. Ultimately, when it ended up happening, unfortunately, the company started expanding. They started getting bigger, and they expanded too quickly. And due to that expansion, they were forced to file for bankruptcy. And a new company bought them out, AIG Insurance Company. And at that time, I was pretty disappointed. You know, I'd invested 3 years of my life into it, and I knew that I was going to have to start over again and prove myself again to a new management team. But you know, I took it in stride. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's go and let's prove ourselves all over again. So with that, you know, with starting over, you know, although I was frustrated, I had a lot more coming to me over the next 5 years, which within my career itself, which ultimately turned out to be the hardest 5 years of my career. During the time at AIG, I probably spent there about 1.5 years, and if most of you could remember, back in 2010, they were actually bailed out by the government. So AIG actually went bankrupt. So after 1.5 years there, and starting over and having that good attitude, we were bought out by Farmers Insurance. You know, and during that buyout, there's a lot of uncertainty. You know, you don't know if you're going to keep your job. You don't know what the new management's going to view you as. You don't know if they're going to just let you go. So fortunately enough, I was able to keep my job and start working at Farmers Insurance at the time. And I remember telling myself, kind of taking a moment and telling myself, you know what, it's okay. Let's start over. Your work ethic is good. Let's show once again that you could put yourself on top and do as well as you can and try to give it as much effort as you can. So with that, you know, at Farmers, I spent 3 years there, and the same results there as well. I was fortunate enough to get 3 exceeds results at Farmers Insurance as well. And after 3 years, I really felt like my career was rolling again. I felt like back like when I was at 21st Century, you know, we're ready to go. I'm really going to start developing. I'm really going to start proving that I could do well within this career. At the time, you know, we got some great news. As you can see here, my wife was pregnant at the time, and we were expecting our first child. So, biggest milestone in your life that you could have. I was very excited about it. Unfortunately, and here's where, you know, life started getting a little difficult for me. 1 month prior to me, prior to my daughter being born, I was informed that Farmers was going to be downsizing, and that I was no longer going to have a job. So you could imagine at that point, you know, they gave me a severance package, and then they said, you know, in 3 months you're not going to be employed, so you have 3 months to look for a new job. You know, at that point, I was lost, I was confused, I was angry, and I was really looking for answers. It was a really difficult and dark time in my life because I felt like I had given a company everything, and when I needed them the most, when I was going to have my daughter there, and you know, my daughter supporting me there, you know, she was going to be my everything, and I wasn't going to be able to support her because I didn't have a job. So. You know, at this time, really is, you know, when the light turned on, really like the devastation of not having a job, it really turned out to be a blessing in disguise. You know, it forced me to reevaluate my life and really take a new approach to my career and really challenge myself. I remember when I graduated from college, people would always tell you, you know, you got to find a company that's right for you, that matches your ideologies and has the same passions that you do, and I never knew what that was. So this was the time for me to start figuring that out, right? So I really challenged myself to do that. This is when I really could probably say, from a career standpoint, I became a lifelong learner. I needed to find a company that was stable, that had a lot of opportunity, that had been around for a long time, that had history, that had great leadership, that had vision. And then from a personal standpoint, I had to also challenge myself to become more knowledgeable about my industry and develop additional skill sets so I make myself more valuable. So these mergers and these buyouts don't affect me as much. You know, I needed to improve my management skills, my communication skill set, my emotional intelligence, and really, most importantly, like my technological skill set, right? Technology is adapting and evolving so quickly. I need to be able to adapt to all that as quickly as I could. Overall, I needed to build my brand and develop my skill set. So I can't be easily discarded if another merger did happen. So, with this newfound direction, I was fortunate enough to find a company that checked all the boxes for me. And that company was Travelers Insurance. And I could actually remember going through the hiring process with Travelers. And I had interviewed there, and I was waiting, to hear back. I thought the interview went well. It was a 3-hour interview. That I brought my laptop in, showed all the things that I could do, and but I wasn't sure if they were going to offer me a job. And at the time, I had a daughter on the way, and I had 2 other companies offer me jobs. And I could remember telling myself, you know what, I'm going to hold out. I know I have a daughter coming, but I'm going to hold out because Travelers is the right place for me. And fortunately enough, they did give me a call back. They did offer me the job, and really the rest is history. I've been there for 6 years, and I couldn't have chosen a better place to work. This location where I work at now has great leadership, a great vision. They're really inspiring. I've met some of the greatest leaders I've met in my life there. With Annette Ball, Katie Lopez, Pam Bonani, Stephanie Pope. They really challenged me and given me opportunities to develop in ways that I myself didn't even know I could develop in. So, with that, in these 6 years, I've actually had 5 different jobs at Travelers within these 6 years across 4 or 5 different lines of business, which makes me more valuable, and it meets that criteria that I had for a company, is to continue to develop, right? So it's been an amazing transition for me, and really I've learned so much working there, and I've had a great opportunity, and really thankful for being able to work there. And this has kind of led me to my continuous personal development, right? So my personal development is that I want to continue to learn. I've been through these mergers. They've been painful. I've learned a lot from them, but I still want to continue to learn. So I'm 38 years old, and at 38 years old, I decided to pursue my dream of attending Pepperdine University. I applied for the graduate school program, and I was fortunate enough to get into the master's program, and continue my professional development, to continue to learn, about technology, and how do I apply that to my career? How does that give me career flexibility? And then most importantly, from a personal perspective, I have 2 children now, and from a personal perspective, the importance of I'm able to show my kids the importance of having a dream and executing that dream through passion, perseverance, and hard work. And I hope that my children are able to see that through my journey that I've had through my career, and I'm able to teach them something valuable that they can leverage, when they grow. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this TED Talk, and appreciate your time. Bye-bye.